Okay. Is that what you're telling me? All right, let me get my timer set up here in case somebody wants to talk.
I have one of those hourglass timers I got. When I had my surgery, I have to do it for so long. I should bring it and set it there for you. Otherwise, I don't get.
All right. I would like to open this meeting of the External Relations Committee Tuesday, October 22nd, 1 p.m., maybe 1:01, something like that. So would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Rebecca, would you call the roll to this illustrious committee here?
It's Director Cicada
I'm here.
and Director Thomas.
I am also here. All right, item number 2, public comment. At this time, the members of the public may address the committee on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for future consideration, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. We have no one in the audience today, but how about online? We have, let's see, Francisco. Francisco, are you ready to make a public comment?
Yes, sir. Just a request. I tried to get onto the district or the special districts website to learn a little bit more about responsibilities of the district directors, etc. Unfortunately, most of the material that is available is only available to members, and membership is a non-trivial amount. Is there a way that membership can be shared or used by members of the public, since we're having members of the board or being part of the special districts group? You don't need to answer. I can follow up, but that's where the comment would be. Thank you.
I didn't understand what you said. Okay, yeah, Francisco will follow up with you on that, but I can tell you from my limited participation in that organization is that it's like a, I don't know, a boot camp more or less for us to as directors to find out what best practices are to do our job and what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, and anyway, it's very worthwhile activity. There's a meeting coming up in San Rafael that I was hoping to go to, but I can't.
For CSDA.
It's such a new training. All right. Anyone else wishing to make a comment today on an item not on the agenda? Pat Roy, are you on?
I am.
Do you have anything that you would like to share with us today?
I would have 2 questions, but they're more pertinent to the automated information system. Just 2 questions about general questions about their power source. Where's it derived from? And the next would be since they are precision measuring devices, what kind of a certification process do they undergo? But anyway, that's about it for me. Right now, I don't think they're that relevant. So.
All right. Maybe you can, that's on the agenda for tomorrow. Okay.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next item 3A. Well, let me ask one more time. Is there anyone else online that wishes to make a comment? Raise your hand, speak up. All right. let's move on to item 3A, approval of the minutes. Oh, wait, that's 3 minutes is up. Approval of the minutes of our September 3rd meeting.
I reviewed them. I think they look fine. I approve them.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those
Do we
minutes.
really need to go through that motion and all that stuff being a committee, or just say we're good?
It's procedural protocol.
Well, then I have to know that for the finance, because sometimes we just, Bertha and I will just say, we're good.
Okay. I will ask a couple of questions later about that the minutes, but anyway, going on to new business 4A, we have an update regarding the Mountain Counties Water Resources Association. Kelly will be talking about that along with, I guess, Justin Caporusso with the Mountain Counties Water Resources Association.
So yeah, I would like to introduce Justin Caparuso. I mean, the first two items on today's meeting is just really, some of the organizations that we are involved with. And I thought how great it would be just to have them and come give the presentations to y'all and really just hear from the experts within those organizations. And again, just hear from them. So Justin
Take
Caparuso.
it away, Justin.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. First, Kelly, thank you so much for inviting me to speak before you all today. I really appreciate the opportunity. Secondly, it's so great to see you both. We're always really excited to kind of engage with our members and appreciate the opportunity to kind of give you a little bit of a background on who Mountain Counties is, what we've been up to, and what we're looking forward to for the year ahead. I do have a presentation, so I'm going to try and share my screen here. I'm going to turn off my camera to share my screen, and we'll see if this works for you all.
Justin, if I could just ask one quick question. Where
Please.
Where are you sitting?
I am sitting in Placer County.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your regular office there?
My regular office in Placer County. Yep.
Looks nice. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
We are.
Perfect. So again, thank you. My name is Justin Caparuso. I am the Executive Director for Mountain Counties Water Resources Association, of which CCWD has been a longtime member. Got just a quick kind of 18-slide presentation. We'll go through some of the slides fairly quickly, but wanted to give you a good background on who we are. And now why is this not working? Sorry, guys, I'm having some technical difficulty here. There we go. And do you still see my screen?
Yes.
Can you make it
Perfect.
bigger?
Yeah, so you're seeing the wrong side then, I think.
There we go.
Great.
That's good.
Perfect. All right. Mountain Counties. So this slide showcases the region that we cover. Mountain Counties Water Resources Association really focuses its efforts on membership within the Sierra Nevada region as a unique region within California. We do have members that are as far north as Yuba and as far south as Mariposa. And of course, Calaveras, you can see right there, smack dab in the middle, and all the way east to the Eastern Sierra. We have membership split into 4 different categories. We have executive and water purveyors. Those are CCWD, for instance, is an executive member. So our counties and our water agency members. And then we have affiliate members and associate members who round out the membership. And affiliate members are water agencies and or counties who are a part of the association but are not geographically located within the footprint of Mountain Counties. And then associate members are all other members falling outside of those categories. And you can see here we've got potentially a number of engineering firms and others that you all may be familiar with and work with. This goes into just a little bit further discussion around the region in which we cover. Like I referenced, Plumas down to Mariposa. We don't currently have any Plumas members, which is why I said Yuba was as far north. But our region does cover from Plumas down to Mariposa. We are made up of a 9-member board of directors. And as you can see there, we are so grateful to be led by your Scott Ratterman, CCWD director. He's been our president for the last couple of years and will be in 2025 potentially as well. We have 6 elected water agency directors and 3 county supervisors that sit on our board per our bylaws. And so you can see here we have a decent representation of the region. We really like to keep our directors, our board balanced as it represents the majority of our region. And so we've got El Dorado, we've got Calaveras, we've got Tuolumne, Nevada County, Placer County, Yuba County, and again, Placer and Amador. We are losing 4 board members, 4 board directors this year to retirement and redistricting, actually. So we will be replacing 4 board members at the end of the year. As I referenced, I serve as executive director. I've been in this role for a little, just about 3 years this month now, actually. I have my background isn't necessarily in water. It really is in rural counties and rural county issues. I think that my work in forest management over the years that I was at the Rural County Representatives of California is what made me a good fit for this role. During that time there, I was chair of an alliance called the California Forest Watershed Alliance, of which Aqua, RCRC, a number of other Sierra Nevada, Sierra Nevada Conservancy, were all members of that alliance, which really was about fighting for a fair share of resources for the protection of our forests. So back to mountain counties. The mission of mountain counties is to promote the statewide importance of Sierra Nevada water resources through advocacy and collaboration. We recognize that we can't do it alone. It's a big focus of our organization is really on collaboration and identifying key partners that fall, quite honestly, outside of our region that we need to help advocate for the resources and the protection of the natural resources that we all are in charge of, as they are important for the entirety of the state. And our vision is really to be the premier advocate for this and the protection of the Sierra Nevada watershed, and to be those that are called upon when it comes to policy making and decision making in Sacramento. I put this slide in because I really want to emphasize our approach and our strategy, which was really launched years ago by our former executive director, John Kingsbury, around the importance of really advocating and providing outreach and education on the statewide benefits of healthy headwaters. As you know, Sacramento is really influenced by large population densities. And so you've got LA and the Bay Area that really make a lot of the decisions for the state as a whole. And so it's so important for us to continue to provide outreach and education to legislators who fall outside of our region, who don't understand the importance of protecting the resources in our region for the rest of the state. And so this slide kind of outlines our thoughts around the statewide benefits of healthy headwaters and why everyone in California should be invested in protecting those headwaters. Within those statewide benefits, our board has adopted a strategic plan, and within that strategic plan identified a number of strategic priorities. You can see the 5 that are outlined here: California's watershed and the protection of that watershed. Water rights, as you all are aware, is a prime importance for a number of our members in our region. Water supply, forest management, and again, getting back to that statewide collaboration. Following the strategic plan, some of the key priorities that came out of our planning process that were included in some of the goals that were set by the organization: protection of our water rights, preservation of regional water supplies, increased investment in our headwaters, science-based forest management plans and actions. Again, getting back to that increased statewide collaboration, water capacity and storage, and really the education of key target audiences on that need of protecting our headwaters. And I think I keep relaying that message, and I think it's so important, especially given where we're at in California. There have been and will continue to be, just based on the political calendar, large turnover within the legislature, which means we're continually needing to educate and re-educate members who are unfamiliar with our region and unfamiliar with the systems in California and how they are interconnected and how they work. To do that, we do provide tours and education. We really focus a lot of our outreach to legislators and policymakers and agencies, statewide agencies, through tours and education. And I will get into that a little bit later. We recently had a tour in your neck of the woods that we can talk about. Over the last 18 months, we have focused a good deal of our work on improving and engaging in legislative advocacy at the state level. We 18 months ago contracted with a lobbyist. We have an active legislative committee that provides recommendations to our board of directors around legislative proposals. You can see here, this slide kind of outlines how we narrow our focus when it comes to engaging at the legislative level. As you can imagine, there are thousands of bills that are presented each year. And it really is the legislative committee, along with our lobbyists. It's our role, our job, to really go through those legislative packages that are presented and identify and streamline how we want to engage. And so we really kind of put legislation into three different buckets: the first being engage, the second being watch, and the third being monitor, with the goal of really having just a handful of bills that rise to that first level of engagement, which is, we're actively sending in support or opposition letters. We're engaging in coalitions. We are testifying at the Capitol. We are submitting letters to the editor. We're engaged in communication strategies around it. Quite a heavy lift for the proposals that fall into bucket one, engage. And then the second one is really those who, we need to keep an eye on, because as they move through the process, they can change, and they can either bump up to a first priority or bump down to a third priority. This year, we hosted our first ever Legislative Advocacy Day. We had a number of folks come into town, into Sacramento. We had set up over 30 legislative meetings. So these are meetings with legislators, meetings with key legislative staff, meeting with regulators, and meeting with consultants. We outlined a number of our priorities and aligned under some strategic messaging that we wanted to relay to these legislators, and really utilize this opportunity as this first opportunity that we had as for our Ledge Day to introduce ourselves again to the Capitol and specific staff as well. You can see a number of folks from CCWD participated, as well as others from the region. It turned out to be a really great day. We got to take our picture there on the assembly floor, which was great. We're in October, so this was this month. A few weeks ago, we also hosted a 2024 legislative tour, and Mountain Counties kind of served as the host association, but it was really CCWD, Utica, and Union UPUD who pulled together this event and tour that focused on the collaboration of the agencies around the water system in Calaveras County. We were able to invite and bring Assemblymember Diane Pappen, who is currently chair of the Assembly Water Parks and Wildlife Committee, and is potentially going to be chair of that committee for a number of years to come. She came along with a number of her chief consultants and high-level staff. We were able to take them out there on Utica's flume, kind of showcase the aging infrastructure, some of the challenges that take place in rural counties. And then we went back and had a roundtable discussion that really kind of provided, I think, a little bit of opportunity for our member agencies to outline some of the concerns that they see moving forward. We also started the day with a more formal presentation from the three agencies that I referenced, where they kind of went around and explained what we were going to be seeing and some of the challenges faced by our Mountain County regions that are more unique than some of the other agencies that she may be dealing with on a more day-to-day basis. I wanted to pull a couple of these slides. I won't bore you with them, but this is sort of the outline that came from the strategic planning session that we held a couple of years ago. There were 5 strategic priorities, California's headwaters. This kind of breaks down one of them and kind of shows you the objectives, the action items, the time frame that serve as the guide for how the association focuses its work. And we have this, I kind of outlined the headwaters piece and the forest management piece just for you to get a kind of a better understanding of some of the objectives that we have within those 2 priorities. And again, that's supporting an increased investment in healthy watersheds, specifically in our region, promoting policies, projects, and funding to protect the Sierra Nevada watershed, and then increasing the awareness of the importance, again, that outreach and education component. The action items then just kind of outline the steps that the board has directed the association to take. And this is the slide for forest management, which kind of outlines the same objectives around our forest management policies. Earlier this year, we did, as part of this strategic plan, stand up and have the board adopt a set of forest management principles. So now we have both a set of water policy principles and a set of forest management principles that allow for the association staff and lobbyists to utilize as they engage in legislative review and meetings with the legislature, really kind of give us a roadmap for what the association stands for and is interested in advocating on behalf of. So with that, that's the end of the slideshow. I'll stop presenting here and then see if I can see you all. There we go. I would like to end with, we have 50 members, as I referenced. We have just a handful of executive members, and those are the members who really lead the organization, the agencies and counties, the water agencies and counties within our region. And the engagement level has been so great from all of our members, and CCWD is no exception. And we're so grateful to have the participation from not only your board, but your staff. And Michael Minkler and team are really supportive of the association's advocacy, outreach, and education, and as well as the events that we host throughout the year and that they partner with us on. So we're really grateful for your partnership. We couldn't do this without you. This is and this collaborative effort is why we exist. We're stronger together, specifically when it comes to Sacramento, as I think we all know. And again, I'm open to answering or addressing any questions that you may have.
I enjoyed the presentation. It's been a while since I've kind of dived into the priorities of the strategic plan, so it was really nice. Thank you. I don't really have any questions.
Yeah, if you don't mind, President Thomas, I just want to, Justin, this is we just really appreciate your leadership and the direction you've taken Mountain County since you've been on board there, and the how effective of an advocacy organization it's become. That is much more, it's very closely aligned with CCWD's advocacy goals. And so it's just really, really great to see how Mountain Counties is kind of prospered under your leadership. So thank you for the work you do on our behalf. I know, the polling looks like Prop 4 is going to pass, and I think you've positioned yourself really favorably to have a seat at that table to help define those programs and make sure that some of those resources end up in the mountain counties in ways that we've missed out before. So I'm looking forward to that, and just really, really appreciate your advocacy and your leadership.
Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, and if I can elaborate, since you brought up Prop 4 a little bit, one of the things I'm so grateful for is the great leadership that I have on the board and the members and our board of directors. And, we're only able to engage at that level when we have the engagement and the approvals that we get on a kind of a quick turnaround. And as I referenced, a handful of bills rise to that level of engagement, number one, where we're, full court press kind of on legislative proposals. This year, it really shifted about halfway through the legislative process to where we went all in on Prop 4. And in doing so, we were one of the first associations really to support it. It opened up a number of doors for us. I'm getting texts and phone calls now from legislators because we were kind of one of the first ones on board with that. We're really hoping that it does pass. We really wanted to make sure that the Mountain Counties region got its fair share of, the bond that came through. And so we look really well positioned, should it pass, to really be able to have a seat at the table, which is what it's all about, I think, when it comes to advocacy. So thanks, Michael, for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Justin, I have become aware that you're having a significant meeting on the 22nd. I've attended a number of these very informative meetings, but what could we expect to have as far as presenters there at your meeting on the 22nd of November?
I couldn't have teed it, Russ, thank you. Couldn't have teed it up better myself. And maybe if you are able to make it, hopefully you can pick up the mic and sing us a little something. But we have we are going to be sending out an updated email tomorrow, marketing again for the event. But we have secured Congressman Tom McClintock as a speaker, State Fire Marshal Daniel Berlant as a speaker, and a number of other folks who are tentatives that I can't announce yet. But one of the third state speaker that we can announce is Deputy Secretary for Natural Resources, Lisa Lean Major, who you may recall used to work at Aqua, if you're familiar. She's going to be speaking on forest management through the natural resources lens. And in addition to that, we've got a number of panels that we've got set up, and it's an event that's taking place in Cameron Park, El Dorado County, 10 to 3 on Friday, November 22nd.
In talking with your president, incidentally, was that his high school graduation photograph?
Well, he's on here, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna let him speak to that when he's ready.
Okay, but Scott was saying that you are beginning to focus on trying to get some agencies or some participants in Mariposa County. So I would hope that you are inviting some of those folks that might attend this meeting on 22nd. It would be very appropriate for them to see you at your best, in a larger group like that. That's always very impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah, we would love to have Mariposa re-engage with us, and I will be extending some invitations that direction.
Okay. All right. Does that conclude your remarks?
That concludes my report.
Okay. Director Ratterman, do you want to defend yourself?
Unfortunately, this is your opportunity to take shots at him when he can't respond.
He can't respond?
That would
Oh,
be
man.
that would be a quorum of the board, and he can observe but not comment. So fire away, Director Thomas.
Well, he's not representing this board. He's defending himself on mountain counties,
He
but
still is on the CCWD board, so unfortunately he can't comment today.
yeah. Okay. Scott, if you are on, I suppose you are, I noted that just as I was pulling in the parking lot that I got a call from you, and I will respond as soon as this meeting is over. So, okay. Any questions?
How about the public? I'm good.
Yeah. Any public comments on this item that Mr. Caparucio has given us? No hands? Okay. All right, well, thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Hope to see you on the 22nd.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Kelly, for the opportunity.
Okay, next item, 4B, update regarding the California Special Districts Association, CSDA. And this is another one that Kelly is going to give us some attention on. Let me take a moment to point out that it was brought to my attention that item 4D, we will not be discussing today because Juan Maya, the civil engineer that was going to make that report, is ill today. So if someone is online and waiting for that presentation, we'll have to do it next time. Anyway, Kelly, go ahead on 4B.
Yeah, again, I'm really here just to introduce Dane Wadley with CSDA, a Calaveras native, and again, another organization that we're just really proud to be a part of and very grateful for all the work that they do. And so without further ado, here's Dane Wadley.
Hi, Dave.
Great.
Welcome.
Afternoon. Great. Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Again, Dane Wadley. I'm a field coordinator with the California Special Districts Association. So essentially CSDA's liaison to the special districts in our, what we call our Sierra network, which of course includes Calaveras County, and appreciate Kelly highlighting my Calaveras County background as well. Grew up in the area. I graduated from the high school over at Angels Camp, which of course is the best high school in Calaveras County. So I'll just throw that out there for everyone. But appreciate everything that you guys do, and certainly as a longtime resident and now as CSDA. So the district's been a member of CSDA for almost 20 years now, believe it or not, coming up quite quickly. And so, similar to, what Justin did, and now I have a little presentation just like to go through on some of the things that CSDA has done on your behalf over the this past year. And, I just want to highlight before we dive into it that CSDA, one of the things that we have a little broader perspective in terms of issues that we follow relating to you as a special district. And so sometimes it doesn't mean as water focused. It's kind of a broader perspective on things that affect a special district as an industry as a whole. So your fire districts, water districts, et cetera. So I think you'll see that as we go through the presentation here. So I am going to attempt to share my screen as well and pull this thing up for you here. Okay. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Okay, so year-end legislative report here. So, again, CSDA, what's our main goal and mission is uniting the voice of California's over 2,000 independent special districts and the communities that they serve. And these are kind of, our main issue areas that we focus on your behalf, certainly in the state legislature and increasingly federally as well through the National Special District Coalition, which I'll jump into here, kind of kicking off with some of the really exciting work that we're doing federally on behalf of special districts and through the coalition. So getting to that, again, the National Special District Coalition was generally created about 5 or 6 years ago through a coalition of essentially organizations like CSDA throughout the nation. So we were one of the principal founders, as it says there. We've formed this coalition with like the Oregon Association of Special Districts, Florida, Utah, Wyoming, and I'm missing one more, Colorado as well, to again advocate federally for special districts as a local government industry. And the primary thing that we've been doing this year, our focus has been this Special Districts Grant Accessibility Act, which would codify into federal law definition of special districts and to ensure that districts are eligible for federal grants and resources. And one of the impetus for this primarily was because going back to COVID, with the funds that came out, the assistance from the federal government through the CARES Act and ARPA, you may recall special districts were left out of kind of those direct allocations that went out to, Calaveras County, for example, City of Angels, right? And one of the reasons that special districts were left out was because there was not a definition of special districts in federal law, and there wasn't going to be one created during that whole time frame. So districts had to go basically to the counties, cities, and to the state to basically get some of their funds transferred to special districts to help with our COVID impacts. And that, of course, occurred to varying degrees. For instance, CSDA was able to secure $100 million from the state, transferred some of their state funds to special districts for their COVID impacts. But, obviously it was a much heavier lift to do that. And so we've really been moving forward with this Grant Accessibility Act to have the definition of special districts into federal law and to ensure that we are eligible for grants and resources. So you see some of the statistics right there in terms of the number of districts or organizations that have supported there's basically two bills. There's a bill in the House Resolution 7525, and then now we have a bill in the U.S. Senate, which is S 4673, that would accomplish this. And so we've secured a number of co-sponsors from the California congressional delegation to help us move that bill forward. The status of the bill is that it is currently on the Senate floor. So it's passed out of the House, overwhelming support, passed out of a Senate committee. And so we're hopeful that we can get the bill off the Senate floor when Congress comes back after the election, and then obviously to the president's desk and to signature before the end of the year. So that's what our main goal is. And that's a pretty exciting time to see this moving along and helping to raise the profile of special districts nationally. And our outreach to federal legislators has really increased just over the past couple of years. So this here, get call to action. Again, we're trying to get every special district in the nation, in this case, to join this coalition, and you can do so through our digital toolkit, and I can send more information to Kelly and Michael if you'd like. One of the other federal bills that we've been working on is, again, this Fix Our Force Act, HR 8790. The first bullet point highlights kind of what the bill does. And then the key, though, I think, is that second bullet point, which is an amendment that is requested by NSDC, the Special District Coalition, and submitted by Representative John Garamendi, who, of course, has a long background in Calaveras County. To essentially include, again, special districts to be included in this Good Neighbor Authority. Again, just trying to ensure that it's, we're on that same level with cities and counties and all funding opportunities. The amendment was recently, it was adopted, passed the House, it's in the Senate. As you can see, we're kind of facing some opposition from for the administration, but again, just another example of our federal advocacy efforts to include special districts and opportunities. I'm going to turn to kind of state and California specific legislative issues. So one of our most kind of priority call to action this year was being involved in a state ballot initiative 1935, which was at one point had qualified for the November ballot, for the ballot that we're all voting on now and we'll be voting on the next couple of weeks, but then was ultimately removed by the state Supreme Court. And this was something that would have been very harmful, certainly to local governments, but also to special districts, in terms of how it would have restricted the ability of districts to raise fees to pay for infrastructure, other essential services. Obviously, you guys being a water district, and the infrastructure needs that you have and the geography that's present in Calaveras County to keep things working can be challenging. So it was something that we were very involved with, occupied a bunch of our time to oppose the initiative, and as I said, ultimately part of a broad coalition to raise awareness about how it was going to be harmful, And as I said, ultimately, we submitted a joint amicus brief and decided in the Supreme Court when they removed the initiative from the ballot. So we had over 140 districts statewide who adopted opposed resolutions to that measure. Wanted to include this also because we were participating in a press conference down at the state capitol, and you may recognize a gentleman in the yellow shirt there. That's Dana Nichols with the San Andreas Fire District. Obviously, as you guys know, with what the fire districts did with their recent sales tax measure to fund fire, to provide funding to the fire districts in the county, that measure that was passed locally would have been basically voided by this the initiative that I just referenced, 1935. And so, of course, that was something that was a very prominent story for us to highlight when in our advocacy efforts against the initiative. And Dana came down to Sacramento to participate in the press conference. I know a lot of numbers on this page here, but I'm certainly happy to send you my presentation as well so that you guys can dive into this a little bit more. But you can just kind of see the number of bills that we reviewed, actively tracked, adopted priority positions on bills. Basically, a number of bills that we supported actually became law. That's about 55% of that 62 out of 117. And then out of the 78 bills that we formally opposed through our legislative committee and ultimately our board of directors, only 13 of them became law. So pretty good statistics and good work by obviously our CSDA lobbying team, but of course, obviously the districts as well through their support and through their advocacy efforts. So this just gives you, I'll just run through these kind of real briefly, but there's just some employment bills that would have imposed some expensive challenges for special districts, bills that we defeated, contracting bills, strike benefits, et cetera. Like I said, it's a little bit broader perspective, maybe than just, kind of water focused, but that's obviously one of the roles that CSDA fills for you and other districts across the state. Pose, a number of new costly mandates that were ultimately defeated. And protected some local control over revenue. Obviously, you heard me go into the issue with the initiative, which was really the most obvious example, but some other bills here that we were very involved with, SB 1164, and then the trailer bill and the state budget, which we were involved with as well. And then also, secured amendments, as it says there, to protect infrastructure funding for growing communities, particularly related to development impact fees. And that's really been a big issue that we've been engaged in over the past, probably 3 or 4 years, with development fees, capacity connection charges, to make sure that those revenue sources are preserved for special districts who are having to, of course, provide infrastructure to new developments throughout the state. And then again, you can see some, public works bills that we supported. Again, just to help plan and construct long-term infrastructure and services. You can see a couple of those bills right there. And again, I can go through some more detail with those and get you some more information, but I just wanted to highlight a few of those for you. And to that end, a lot of, at the end of each year, we pick a number of bills and we write, basically kind of in this new law series and through our e-news. Our e-news comes out weekly on Tuesday. Actually, it just came out about 40 minutes ago. So hopefully you're getting all of our CSDA emails. And if not, let's please chat so we can get you on the list. But you will see these new laws, this new law series, which is going to highlight a number of these bills that I talked about and kind of what the implications are, obviously going forward into 2025. So they'll be going through the end of the year with the new law series. Always encourage, district staff and board members to join our expert feedback teams. You can see we have 5 right there, because obviously with our lobbyists, we have just a need to get feedback from the experts who are in the field on a number of issues so that we can effectively advocate and represent your interests in the state legislature. And our feedback teams are one of the critical ways that we do that. Excuse me. Last thing I'll just touch on briefly is our annual legislative conference, our legislative days that we have too. You can see it's a little ways off, but you can get on your calendar May 20th and 21st in Sacramento. And then the last thing I'll just highlight too is that we have a CSDA Gold Country chapter, which of course includes Calaveras County. And we've been kind of resurrecting this chapter recently. Had a meeting recently in the Auburn area. We've previously done meetings in San Andreas for, trainings and networking and kind of bringing CSDA closer to the districts in the Gold Country. And so we'll certainly keep you on the list. And I know Kelly attended our last meeting, which we really appreciate him making the drive over to Auburn to participate. But obviously would love the district's input and involvement in that arena to help us and keep you involved. All of our field coordinators, so we have 6 of us. So obviously I'm your contact though, as I discussed, and for Calaveras County and the greater Gold Country region. And then that is our disclaimer. Well, it's on a webinar, but our presentation. So I'll go ahead and stop there. Just again, obviously, I appreciate the membership and the engagement and the all the assistance that you guys regularly provide for us. It really helps us a lot, and obviously keep that that rural perspective in our association as well, and particularly on a water basis too, because of course we have the big Bay Area water districts, Southern California water districts, and as someone who's has Calaveras County in my heart, I always like to see my hometown districts get involved and make sure that their voices are represented in our association. So I'll go ahead and stop there. Happy to answer any questions and appreciate the opportunity.
Good.
Yeah, Dane, that was awesome. And you spoke a lot about the legislative advocacy and whatnot, which is awesome. But CSDA also offers so much good in training, whether it's for individual board members or for the districts. And I haven't been on the website for a while, but that networking, where you can put a question out there and everybody can answer it. There's just so much more than just the legislative side that we benefit as a member with CSDA.
Absolutely. Yes. Certainly our training for board members and staff. We actually have our board member conference, our Special District Leadership Academy, coming up in a couple of weeks out in San Rafael. We'll have a number of those next year as well. So yes, and the communities that you're talking about, Director, it's a wealth of information to help.
We had a ratepayer on with us today, and he asked about, he wanted to be able to get access to CSDA to see some of the things that help the district and the board. Is that something that's possible for members of the public to go on and see what's there? I know it's kind of limited, but is that a possibility?
Yeah, we obviously CSDA is a membership association, and so the district is the member of our association, and so we make the content available certainly to all of you board members and to the staff, but that's the priority focus for our kind of specific membership information.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certainly some information which is accessible just going to the website for anyone really, but there will be a point where you kind of hit the paywall, if you will.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody online wish to ask Mr. Wadley a question about CSDA?
Yes, Patrick Roy here, Rancho Calaveras. In regards to the information packet that's provided to the member, utilities and so forth, understanding the limitations and restrictions that are involved by the controlling agency on dissemination of information, is there anything that limits the member parties from independently distributing that information to people that request it?
That would be up to the member district.
So there's no limitation on, I'm going to use your part as for terminology here then. That would be good. Thank you.
Okay,
Sure.
Pat. Anyone else? Anyone else? Raise your hand, speak loudly. All right, I see no, oh, Kelly, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Dane as well. And again, what Pat brought up, I think that's important. And that's why I'm trying to bring these folks into our meetings, legal affairs and here at the external relations, because I think it's really important for them to hear from these organizations that we're a part of and just really hear from the professionals. So I'm going to continue doing that at both this committee and the legal affairs committee. So hopefully they'll, all the information they provide is just really valuable. And I'm trying to get that information into our customers and whoever wants to hear this kind of information.
Thank you, Kelly.
There have been some questions asked recently in our board meetings about, the public would like to know more about what it is that you accomplish when you go to these meetings. So this is a significant step in that direction to provide that information. All right, let's go to 4C, the update on the Calaveras Public Power Authority. And
Thank you, Dane.
Thank you.
thank you very much, Dane.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Incidentally, Dane, you have an unusual name. My son is named Dane as well. So
Well, I like him already, right?
yeah, only two that I know of. But okay, Michael, were you going to talk to us about the Public Power Authority and the Clean Fleet Rule?
Yes, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I just wanted to give an update. So we talked about this a while back, but we went to CPPA just to start to foster a discussion among the CPPA members. And so just so everybody understands, CPPA is the Calaveras Public Power Authority, is made up of local special districts, city and county in Calaveras County. And we're all public agencies that receive preferred power from the Central Valley, the Bureau of Reclamation Central Valley project, because of the construction of New Maloney's and the impact it had on the local counties. So we're one of only a couple of counties that get preference power off the Central Valley project at a lower rate. So there's a significant savings for public agencies in Calaveras and Tuolumne counties because of this arrangement. And CPPA is a joint powers authority that was formed shortly after New Maloney's construction was complete, so early 80s, in order to facilitate the delivery of power to the local public agencies. It's essentially a paper agency. It doesn't have any boots on the ground or poles and wires. The distribution of the power is all still done through PG&E. The billing, all of that is all still handled by PG&E. The energy supply is the difference, and the cost is significantly less than the PG&E commercial rate, which is what we would otherwise pay. So really important organization that is, very not well known necessarily, because it doesn't have a huge high profile presence, but really important, and all of us local agencies benefit from it. And Dennis Dickman has been the executive director forever, maybe. Yeah. Going back to the 90s for sure. And he's just a wealth of information, and we're lucky to have him there. So Damon and I have been talking about how CCWD is going to start to plan for implementation of the Clean Fleets rule. January 1st, 2027 is not as far off as we might think. We know how fast time flies these days. And so we had engaged through Aqua. They have a preferred provider, one of the discount benefits you get as an Aqua member, and a consulting group called Terra Verde, that is doing assessments for agencies. And they've been really involved in the regulatory process and so shaping how Clean Fleets rule is going to, or trying to help be a voice for us. it's not played out the way we wanted it to, but Terra Verde's been kind of in the middle of it, and they offer these services where they can help you do an assessment of your fleet and the infrastructure needs that you're going to have going into Clean Fleets compliance. So we had budgeted for that this year. As we got to talking more about it, it seemed, we know that is something that all of the other local agencies in Calaveras County are going to have to go through. And it seemed like CPPA would be a good mechanism or vehicle potentially to take a more comprehensive approach. So we're not just looking at CCWD's fleet and our infrastructure needs, but all of the public agency fleets and infrastructure needs, and where might we, maybe not save money on the study up front, but at least looking down the road, where can we have potentially some shared charging stations or pooling resources to save costs on infrastructure implementation, or even better would be to work together to bring in grant funding or other sources of funding for the implementation process. So we had an initial discussion with the CPPA board about that a few months ago. CPPA board meets quarterly, and they agreed to have us come back, and Damon gave a full presentation on the Clean Fleets rule, and he's been, as you all know, been really involved in the advocacy effort. He's on the implementation task force, and he's given a lot of presentations to CARB board members and staff. Trying to talk some sense into him, for lack of a better phrase, but it's so Damon was I think he's great presentation for CPPA. We also invited Melissa Raggio, who is the executive director of the Calaveras COG, and I think she had secured a grant for Clean Fleets implementation. Well, it's not, I guess not the Clean Fleets implementation, but infrastructure for public charging stations that would be available to everybody. And that piqued our interest because, we're all working on these issues. And so we had her come and share some of her experience as well, and where we might collaborate on this planning effort and then implementation effort, whether it's through CPPA, COG, or independently as agencies, but at least collaborating as we're going through it together. And the discussion was great. It was very well received, and I think all of the agencies present were want to take a collaborative approach. I think in the end, with the way it was sort of shaping up, that's going to take some time to pull that together. And one of the things that's missing is the information that we're trying to gain through these studies. So I think in the end, we're probably going to go ahead and do ours that we had already budgeted for, and that hopefully will become a really valuable source of information for the rest of these agencies as we go through, continue the dialogue and figure out how we can take a comprehensive approach and work together on this implementation and hopefully bring in some grant funds. But CCWD having a study in our back pocket that gives us the data, so that we're not just giving presentations about, sort of the vagaries of implementation, that we actually have hard data on what we need, and maybe even going so far as to submit the application to PG&E that says, here's all the infrastructure that we're going to need in place, knowing what we know is that PG&E's response is going to be, well, we don't have it and not getting it anytime soon. So, but having all of that, not only I think would be really helpful for all of the local agencies in Calaveras County, but for the advocacy effort as well, so that in Damon's presentations, he can be more specific about the impact and the implementation challenges that we're going to face.
Michael, if we had our own charging stations, could we get the power to supply those with CPPA?
Yeah, and that's
at a discounted rate.
At the same rate, that all of we get all of our power through CPPA for, and that's actually another important point, because CPPA doesn't have an unlimited supply of power, right? There's an allocation that was set aside for Calaveras County and Tuolumne County, and we're entitled to 50% of that. And we've never used 50% of that, and we still have a buffer. But it'll be interesting to see once we start to gather this data, what that's going to mean for CPPA's load. The load is going to increase, and whether or not we start to get close to that 50% threshold, which means CPPA might be in the business of procuring additional power supply, and passing that cost on to member agencies as well. So something that we need to keep a very close eye on, and then have time to prepare for it prior to that load increase.
That percentage that you mentioned, 50%, is that 50% of the 100% comes to Calaveras and 50% goes to Tuolumne, or?
No, there's an allocation that was set aside for both counties.
Mhm.
50% goes to Calaveras County and 50% goes to Tuolumne County.
That's what-
And we currently use about 40%. And there's a provision in there that if we're not using our full entitlement, Tuolumne County can use essentially exercise an option to use some portion of the balance for I think it's at 6 months at a time. So on a rolling basis, they can renew, but they can't, if our load increases, then we would be able to
Sounds
reclaim
like if we
that.
have to go with this charging stations, everybody's just gonna go
Oh, yeah,
up, so.
it's coming. We're gonna have a lot of charging stations. And so it's just a matter of figuring out how this is gonna play out in the future. But I think, having this data will position us not only to help other local agencies understand what these obligations are going to look like, but go out and find funds to help us implement it.
I don't know if you have this information, but is there solar power enough to charge vehicles?
Not reliably. So solar with batteries can be effective, but not reliably enough, and you'd have to have a lot of solar. And for us, we've looked at solar installations over the years, and because the CPPA power is already discounted, the return on investment is usually not there for public agencies to make those additional solar investments. But like I said, if CPPA starts to come up to its full allocation, we're probably going to be in the
Or
power.
could you do
business.
solar just for charging the vehicles, not solar for our treatment plants? Because I know that was an issue. To not have those work real well. But
You would
is
still
that
have
an
those
option?
some of the same issues, but it's possible they could be part of the that's what we want to take a
Package we
look
put
at. Yeah,
together
what's the
and study it.
comprehensive solution here, and that might be part of it.
Either way.
Using solar panels to charge our vehicles that we use for work wouldn't be a very efficient.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, is that
Implementation.
even
They tend to be
possibility?
busy during the hours the sun
Yeah,
is
they're gonna
shining.
be, they're gonna be.
Oh, that's
dri-
right,
they'll
yeah.
Be driving around.
But battery, with
Battery.
any new solar installation of, starting a few years ago is almost always accompanied with battery storage now as well. So it's not a solar panel by itself anymore. It's usually accompanied, especially if it's on a utility scale, accompanied
Somebody
with battery
needs to
storage,
ask.
which is what makes those installations more valuable. But yeah, remote charging stations is another concept, having a battery pack essentially that you can move to where the vehicles are. So there are a lot of different, I don't know, pieces of this that we haven't seen yet that are going to
Well,
become
they
part
don't
of our,
have the solutions.
it's going to
or
become part of our reality here though in the next few years. So I think being up front or out front of it and planning for it, well in advance, and also trying to take advantage of the funding that's going to be available is prudent for us.
I probably should know this, but I never really thought about it before, but who runs the power plant at Maloney's?
Bureau of Reclamation.
Okay. So their facilities that they maintain there at the river bridge, the power that they consume there, do they get their money through CPP or their power that do they get charged through CPPA or do they just tap into the?
Yeah, so through the Western Area Power Administration, the Central Valley Project is all networked.
Okay.
And the New Maloney's is a big piece of it.
Okay. Now, another thing was rattling around in my little head here as the concessionaire at Maloney's has his contract through Reclamation. I'm assuming
The concessionaire.
yeah, the launch ramp and
Yeah, the marina.
Uh-huh.
I would expect so. Sure. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that arrangement exactly, but it's Reclamation Reservoir.
Well, where I'm going with this is I wondered if that person, a local owner there, he may not know that there's a possibility he could be getting his power at a significant discount.
It's a private sector, I imagine, so they probably aren't eligible for that. You have to be a public agency in Calaveras County to have access to CPPA power. But I don't know how that is structured. If Bureau of Reclamation is the customer, they may have a separate arrangement where they also have access to their own power behind the meter or something along those lines. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into how that arrangement works, but a private sector operator probably going to pay full freight.
But if it's a private sector that's operating under a license that he could not get unless he was working for a federal agency. So I don't know. It's just an intriguing thought anyway.
Okay.
All right. So how many electric vehicles do we have on order?
We currently have none on order. We have not purchased any electric vehicles yet.
No electric dump trucks or
So,
backhoes or anything? So,
No,
So,
my son has one. It's about this big.
yeah.
we have 2 more years before we have a new governor. When is the deadline to have electricity? To have electric vehicles? I'm serious. I mean, who knows which way it would go? Because he termed out or something, right? He's not gonna run again.
That's true. There will be,
So
he
with
will
the
term
new
out.
administration, could there be like, to me, the smart thing is if you want this all electric, make it in the larger cities. Every car traveling in the city has to have electric and let them figure it out before the rural has to do it. That doesn't have the same, I mean,
That is a brilliant idea. In fact, it's what they're doing.
Good.
So
that's what they should be
the
doing.
Clean Fleets rule went into effect for urban counties January 1st of 2024. So they are already mandated to comply with the Clean Fleets rule. And so as a rural county,
Get it all figured out and
We
then
have 3
everything's
years.
dialed in and we have batteries that don't have to go fill up our landfill. Blah, blah, blah.
well, part of the problem is
Goes on.
Damon was telling me recently, some of those agencies weren't really even aware of how quickly that deadline had come up on
And
them.
when is our deadline? 30th?
Ours is January 1st, 27. So we have a 3-year lag behind the urban counties.
That's not. Oh,
But
well.
there are exceptions for, the fact that the vehicle doesn't exist or that the infrastructure doesn't exist. There are exceptions for that, but even those are not, how bureaucracies work. They don't make it easy.
Well, I guess what I was saying is not just making it, businesses like ours and everything else. It's like they want to go all electric, then make everybody who lives there have electric. I mean, it was right because the one that went into effect in 24 was just for like special districts.
Just
and-
for fleets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
just
for
the-
fleets.
The,
So start with them. I'm saying for, to drive in the city, it has to be electric. If you don't have one, I guess you better take public transportation. That would solve more of an issue for trying to have this baloney with the climate that they're saying is for it. And then let them do that for 20 years, dial it all in and then,
2035 is. when they
and
want
then
to
by
stop.
then, well, they're just,
That's their target
living
to
in a
stop
law
selling
land.
combustion engines in California is 2030.
anyhow, I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions and,
We don't have to make those decisions, but I do think regardless of what we might think of the clean fleets rule, as with any other mandate, there are consequences for not complying. And so I think it's in our interest to make sure that we're on track. So that's the work that we're undertaking, and then, but also just trying to find the most efficient way to do it and working with other local agencies.
But if we wait to the last minute to order our vehicles until after administration changes, then it could be, okay, there's none available. So we're okay until they come available. So
Yeah, and we
my
don't-
thing is I wouldn't want to start buying them now
No.
until it's down to the very
right.
wire.
We're still buying gas and diesel trucks right now.
You buy one if you want one, Rose. You go get all your
I will never do
work
that.
trucks. Yeah, I
So that's just an update. We'll be bringing it back, I'm sure, at some point to the full board with the results of that study. But this is also, I think, CPPA. This was another opportunity, kind of in the theme of today's meeting, to talk about a regional organization that we're very active in, and collaborate really closely with the agencies. The board is made up of there's 5 permanent members. And 2 rotating special district members, and it's essentially based on how the 5 largest electrical load agencies were established as the permanent members. So it's a really great collaborative effort. School districts, water agencies, county, city.
Is there a sunset clause on that arrangement? No, just,
I don't believe so. No.
okay. All right.
Well, sorry, on which the joint powers agreement that created CPPA, does not have a sunset clause. That we are actually in the process of renegotiating the power supply agreements with WAPA and PG&E, and all of that's being handled through CPPA.
But at the onset, that there wasn't, I understand that there was a promise to supply power at reduced rates.
Right.
But was there any assumption at the beginning that it would only last for 100 years?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
But how that is implemented is what is subject to periodic contract renewals.
Okay. All right. Is that all you have on that?
That's it.
All right. Do we have any public comment on that discussion about the CPPA or the Clean Fleet Rule consequence? Blinking lights?
I have a quick one.
Sure. Go ahead, Pat.
I know this is gonna be really hard for you to answer and to be accurate in any way, but is there any estimate of the total expense that CCWD is going to have to bear to convert over to electric vehicles and install an appropriate infrastructure to charge them and maintain them? I'm overwhelmed with the thought of that.
Yeah, it's
Me
a good
too.
question. Not yet is the answer. We've been really focused on the implementation challenges and trying to shine a light for the CAR board members, what it's like to operate in a rural county, in the topography and the climate that we operate in, and how hard that's going to, it's going to be to continue to do that with electric vehicles. So that's kind of been the focus of our advocacy up until now. But what we really want to add to that is numbers. And that's what this study will help us do, is get into the details of, what the electric load is going to be, what the infrastructure shortfalls are, and then potentially looking at what our fleet, as we turn over, because we don't have to electrify the whole fleet on January 1st, 2027. We just can't buy internal combustion engines anymore as of that date. So it'll be, years of implementation as we start to purchase electric vehicles. But the study that we're going to work on now will help provide that information for us.
Okay, I'm sure you've already thought of it, but just in case you haven't, keep in mind the safe working environment and the the safety level of the technology that's going to be involved. I have a long history with lithium battery technology, and everything I'm seeing says the safety factor has not improved it to any appreciable extent of late. So it's going to be a big consideration going forward because they degrade as they age.
Yeah.
And they become unstable. So there's a lot of things involved there. So anyway, just a thought. I definitely appreciate what you're going to be going through.
Yeah, appreciate that. That is going to be a significant concern, I think, for any fleet operator.
Thank you.
Just one comment that I want to make on that is I think it's on the mind of every board member that sits up here that we look at the last VACON unit that we bought. There's a $500,000 expenditure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not going to last forever. So we ultimately will be expected to buy an electrified VACON unit the battery will be so heavy that you won't be able to put any debris in to suck it out of the dirt out of the hole. It's just I don't know. It's a mind-boggling prospect to me, and I'm sure all the other board members are feeling the same way. And ultimately, if we get forced into this, I mean, the hue and cry has been with certain amount of justification as our rates are going up. What the heck is it going to cause when we have to ask our ratepayers to buy a $1 million or $500,000 truck that actually does not exist yet?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons we want to be positioned to go after funding, because there will be sources of funding available for implementation, but we have to kind of be, sorry to use a buzzword, but we sort of have to be shovel ready to take advantage of that. So we need to know what are our infrastructure needs, what are the fleet needs in order to be able to take advantage of those funding sources when they become available. And so we're just right now, I think, trying to position ourselves so that it has the smallest possible financial impact.
If I may, one more item.
go ahead.
Yeah. Russ brought up a good point because the energy density for the mass provided just isn't there right now. But with regard to buying new vehicles, I don't think there's anything in the rules that prohibits continued maintenance and refurbishment of existing equipment. So that's just something that you might want to consider looking forward, investing in researching good repair agencies for such equipment that could keep it going for the next 20, 30 years, possibly much farther than its original estimated lifespan. So anyway, that's all for me.
Yeah, on the repair and maintenance, I spoke with a member of the school board here locally that they have a problem with I guess they are aware of agencies that have electrified school buses that the only place that they can be repaired is in Sacramento, and there's like a 2-month wait to get them in for repair. So that I mean the degree of complication and unbelievable challenges that are presented by this is just, I guess people had similar concerns when they started implementing internal combustion engines and got rid of all those horse and buggies, huh?
Yeah, my specific reference was to repair of IC engines and traditional pumps. So I think that's something to look at going forward. But anyway, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to talk on this item? Guess not. Next item, we're bypassing or postponing 4D. General Manager comments?
Yeah, one other thing to report on a little bit in the external affairs context, although I guess I'll probably talk about this tomorrow as well, but went to the National Hydropower Association conference recently, which was very informative for me. It was my first time going to one of those conferences. And in addition to...
Can you explain what hydropower or the association does? What are they?
Yeah, so National Hydropower Association is similar to like an Aqua, except nationwide and really focused on the hydropower industry. And so the core members are asset owners, as we are. And then there's all sorts of other hydro industry that surrounds that. And yeah, it was very informative, and also a lot of just good meetings and good discussions, but good sessions, and just in the context of the increasing electrical load that we've been discussing for the transportation sector. You know, the in general electrical load is taxing grids everywhere. And it's largely driven by, you know, new data centers. It takes, you know, 5 to 10 times more energy to run an AI powered internet search than it did to just do a normal Google search. And so data centers popping up everywhere and just consuming, you know, enormous amounts of energy. At the same time, we're trying to electrify the whole transportation sector and decarbonize the grid. So taking any carbon sources offline. It was just kind of eye-opening how significant that increase has been just over the last year or two. How critical of a role hydropower plays in being, you know, in responding to that. But not just hydropower, nuclear is making a comeback. I don't know if you heard Microsoft has recently purchased 3 Mile Island, which sounds like it's some sort of dystopian movie, but that has happened and they're bringing it back online. So just the shortfall of energy to fuel the modern, you know, transition is really kind of mind blowing to see right now. But as a hydropower project owner, I suppose the encouraging thing is you always need flexible resources, flexible generation resources, such as Collierville. Hopefully that is good news for us in the long run, although there's still so much uncertainty about how the regulatory framework will help facilitate that transition that, you know, the economics of it are still very uncertain.
On this conference, do we need to be a member of this association? Are we?
We are
Okay.
a new member of the National Hydropower
And how
Association,
often
but
do
we got
they
a
meet?
discounted rate. So the way that they normally charge their members is based on your installed capacity, which for us is pretty significant. But I had a call with their folks and explained why, you know, that we're just a rural water agency and that we shouldn't, you know, have to pay full freight for the installed capacity, and they made us a very good deal.
How often do they meet?
They have all sorts of events, regional events. The National Hydropower Association, the big conference is called Clean Currents. They do it once a year. It was really informative for me. It's not gonna be my, you know, I'm not gonna go every year, I don't think. And especially in the alternating years, they do it on the East Coast and West Coast. And so it won't be that high of a priority for me, but it was really, really informative and probably something we should keep an eye on
For a while,
as we
yeah.
go through relicensing.
Where's their main office, if you will? Where are they out of
Good
house?
question. DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
sounds like something we should be paying attention to.
Increasingly, I agree, we should. Yes.
Well, if we want to expand our involvement in power generation, maybe you should give us a report on whether Chernobyl is up for sale.
You know what? I'm sure they're considering all options right now because it is a worldwide, you know, increase in electrical load.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, that was nice, Michael.
All right, and we're down to 6 director comments and future agenda items. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I enjoyed having the CSDA and whatnot come here to talk about, you know, kind of what do we get out of this membership. I think that's really important for all of us to remind ourselves, especially if we don't participate them on a regular basis. But I'm wondering if we can bring in Aqua to talk about the membership value in that. And if we could do that next time, because the presentations are great. And I think it's informative. And if we're gonna do T-stand, so I'm thinking Aqua, I'm looking at our
Yeah.
stuff, anything that we pay memberships on.
Yeah, I think
You know,
Kelly's done a
the
great job. of
MRA,
bringing
the McCallum River Association, it's just, I think it'd be some really cool
That
stuff.
one's no longer.
No longer around.
But Aqua, Kelly's done a great job, I think, of bringing that voice in from time to time. It's more so legal
Yeah.
affairs probably than here.
Oh,
But we've had regulatory
just as-
advocates and legislative advocates chime in at legal affairs, but we could, certainly
Just,
talk to Jennifer Rotz and see if we can get.
it's just educating the public of all these things we participate in. I think it's important.
Yeah, I think it's
Even
great.
camera, even though camera doesn't come around, that's really just a IRW, and we could probably kind of tie that in with T-stand.
Yeah.
Talking more
camera
about the IRWM as a whole.
Not an
just
IRWM,
these.
that's the MAC IRWM on the MOC.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And which is run through UMRA.
Yes, so that's one I was,
Is that
thinking of
for-
when I said camera,
Pronounce
yeah.
you.
'cause-
Yeah. So for folks
Calibers-
that are listening, CAMRA is the Calaveras Amador McCallum River Association, and UMRA is the Upper McCallum River Watershed Authority.
Which-
And the MRA was the Moke River Association. It hasn't met since before COVID. And so I don't know that it will be making a comeback. And was there another one there?
Did it contract the disease and die or?
Well, anyhow, back to, if we
Pandemic,
could bring a presentation on those, I think would be really good at some point,
Sure.
not
And that-
all the time.
I think
but-
RWM is one we could expand on a little bit, especially pending the outcome of the election, but so it's the Integrated Regional Watershed Management Program that's run through DWR. And each watershed has an IRWM so we're members of, well, the Calaveras.
There's 9 regions in the state, is that it?
But yeah, the Tuolumne Stanislaus, we call it the T-Stan IRWM, and then there's the Moke River IRWM. Or Moke and Consumers. And they both, at times when there's funding available, they can be conduits for grant funding, and we have received grants from both of those organizations in the past. There's not currently funding available, but that could change with.
And the IRWMs, if you were a member of those were almost a requirement that a district be part of an IRWM membership in order to get funding with regular state funding too. So
Yeah.
that was another benefit with those,
The-
along with collaboration and
Yeah,
whatnot.
the T-Stan IRWM, I think, is probably one of the better.
Most successful, I think,
run.
yeah.
And so having Carolyn or Lindsay give a presentation.
Yeah, I think
here
that would be good. And I know they have some presentations prepared
Oh, I'm sure.
for bringing on new people. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great suggestion.
Anyhow, that's it.
Okay. In looking back at the minutes that we approved at the beginning, my attention went to this, Kelly, there was discussion about our apprenticeship program for the district. Do you have any update on that?
Not an official update, but we did meet with, Stacy's really been spearheading that, and we are having ongoing conversations about that. So maybe by the next meeting, I can prepare a more thorough update on that.
Okay, cool.
Could you include in that, you guys are aware that Columbia College has the water resources and the waste management courses?
Yeah, in our last meeting, I don't recall her name, but we did have a representative who used to work at Columbia and provided some good information on that. So,
Well, that program's still ongoing. It's a internship type thing. So
right.
check into that one and bring it back to would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I just learned the other day that I will be filling in for Director Davidson on the annual trip to DC. I hope I can fill his shoes. His shoes are larger than mine, but we'll see. Looking forward to that.
Then I'll have a comment.
Go ahead.
Well, I think when we as board members go to, our aqua conferences, DC is a big one that can be sort of expensive. We should have some kind of a written report even if it's just like, what did you as a board member get out of it? You know, what was the best benefit for you? And I think we should make that a policy for not just you going to DC, but all of our board members. You know, a written, just what do we get out of it? What courses did you attend? Kind of a thing, you know what I mean? Just to show, you know, why we're going there.
Well, it'd be very, very easy to elaborate on that.
I know,
We
but-
always do when we get back.
Mhm.
I'll usually report out along with the directors that attend those.
A
those
verbal, but I think well, maybe it's just a report that comes out here. It should, let's say, you know, we went to DC and we got to meet with, you know, the president or whatever, you know, and here's what we talked about. As long as it's not classified. And you know what I mean? And have it in just a quick little couple of paragraphs that you can put in the board package for those who either don't attend or, you know what I'm saying? I think sometimes seeing it in writing along with, you know, our agenda package stuff might be nice. And I'm not asking for a lot, but just a quick little, and maybe even a copy of the whole agenda, or, you know, maybe so
The
you doing
act-
one,
the
using the
activities.
aqua program,
The
say, here's
itinerary.
what we saw, yeah, do that instead. And then if you have that in the board packet, and then you bring up, yeah, I attended these two and this one was the best, or whatever, just to
Well,
make us work harder.
if I could respond to that a little bit, oftentimes when you go to meet with some staff member and an agency back there, you may not see the results of your inquiry or your efforts. But Mia O'Connell, I've been aware of her activities long before I got on this board, but my goodness, the money that we spend with her arranging these meetings, it has produced 20 million plus in grants from the feds over the years. So it may not, I mean, what you're asking for very likely would be just, okay, we met with the Department of Interior, Corps of Engineers, and this may or may not produce some benefit immediately, but we're hopeful that it will. I mean,
Yeah, but if it's working towards a long-term benefit, that's a benefit.
okay.
You know, Michael, early on when I became a board member, I don't, maybe it was the legislative days, special districts that we went to, and I got to accompany you to go talk with somebody in the state capitol. And I'd never done that before.
I think that was
And
back, we had Assemblyman Bigelow and Senator Borges.
yeah, one of those. And, you know, I watched you work and I was extremely impressed. I think I told you that about the whole system works. I had no idea. So that was a great benefit for me that I believe helps me understand more of how this works. So that's kind of just the stuff I'm talking about, because I was in awe.
Yeah,
You know, I was.
it was a good day, and
Yeah.
wasn't that the day when, that was March 20th, 2019, I believe.
No,
Remember it very
yeah, that
well.
would have been like
Kept
months
having to
after I
run
became
outside
on
and
board.
talk to Damon and Stacy about how we're shutting down everything and everybody's gonna work remotely, and that was the
Something
day
like that,
they
yeah.
Shut us down. It was,
Yeah. Either way, just things
Yeah.
like that. I mean, that to me is easier for me to verbalize it instead of put it in writing. I'm not very good writing narrative, but I think it would be of value to, you know,
Okay,
to have something.
so noted. Okay. Our next committee meeting is scheduled on November the 26th.
Are we gonna keep that? I would say no, because that's the holiday stuff. You know, I mean, I'm okay with a no on that, and
So what, you have to start baking a turkey on the 26th?
no, I think I'm gonna be traveling, quite frankly.
Oh. Okay,
If I have it my way. No, but I mean, I'm sure on Tuesday I could. We're doing my mom's celebration of life
Mhm.
the weekend before Thanksgiving, but we're making a big Thanksgiving out of it. So for real Thanksgiving, Fred and I are hoping to travel or something, but I could do this, I'm sure. I'm just thinking of everybody else.
the next one is scheduled for December 24th. Is that better for you?
No,
Uh,
maybe, well,
So we could move it up, we could move that one up, it's the finance committee, but why don't we'll work with you on the
Why don't-
schedule, but why don't we do one earlier in December and kind of merge the two?
See what you're gonna be putting on the schedule, maybe we don't need one at all. And, go that route. But at the end of the year, there's a lot going on. And you guys, finance wise, are still working on Tyler and whatnot, so
Yeah.
anyhow,
Okay, we'll work with you on the schedule, appreciate that.
Okay, so we're gonna try to make the December meeting a kind of combined November, December. Is that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
So
make it
by
kind
then
of
we'll have
early.
a DC trip and an aqua conference to report back on.
Right. Okay. So scratch what I said about November 26th. It's to be determined.
To be determined.
All right, so if there's no other urgent item to discuss, I think I'm gonna adjourn this meeting at 2:33 or something like
Jeff would
that.
have been really proud of you right now.
No, very, very fast meeting. All right, thanks for attending. Oh, Cooper, did you have any comments?